Hi everyone, my name is Janice Moth and I'm the Managing Director of It Sucks to Be Lonely Sometimes Limited, and we're a companion service for everyone and we take people out to enjoy themselves and bring them back home safely. And I also am the creator and artistic director of a pioneer event, vintage and themed, here in Worthing, West Sussex. So today, I have a marvellous guest with me, and we're going to talk about loneliness in leaders because most recently I was invited to Parliament for the launch of the Red Cross, the Astra Foundation, and the campaign to end loneliness, their research report. And yeah, I was really startled to find out that 32% of very senior leaders and leaders are lonely. So I'm a leader and becoming an expert in loneliness. And I've got the wonderful Lizzie Williams here with me today. And as part of International Leadership Week, because I'm a member of the Institute of Leadership and Management, I'm doing some videos from really pioneering, very interesting people. So across to you, Lizzie. Can you introduce yourself, please?
Hi, yeah, so my name's Lizzie Williams. I'm a disabled queer former elite athlete competing in wheelchair racing. At the minute, I've taken a pause on that to focus on the world of marketing for a wonderful local charity called Audubon Trust.
Brilliant, Lizzie. So can you tell us, right, as a leader, particularly when you were doing the Paralympics?
I've not been to the Paralympics, so I was competing as a para
when you were
athlete,
training,
a Paralympian rather.
yeah, you were training to be one, weren't you? And so can you tell us a little bit about that and how you felt as a leader and how lonely it was at times, particularly I should imagine with your training and things like that?
Yeah, I think a lot of athletes would agree that the road to elite sport is indeed a very lonely one. And I certainly felt the pressures of that. Certainly, right up until COVID, I guess I was, a number of years into training and developing, and had multiple setbacks, whether that be just medical related or life, throwing its curveballs and just trying to do your best to dodge them. But within the year leading up to COVID, I was split living between my home here in Worthing and London. So my training group are based in London, in Sutton. So it's quite a trip to have to make just to go to train. So I was split living there with a family friend, and I didn't have any friends there. The only people I saw were the people that I live with, and a handful of my training buddies, and we're a small group as it was. So that experience on its own is quite isolating, because I was away from my family, I was away from my partner Rosa for half the week, and she was working as well, so it's tough to get the balance to see other people as well as trying to maintain a good training program. So that was quite a sacrifice, I would say. But there's just a lot of work, I think, that goes into athletic dreams, any sort of sporting journey. There's so much more than you can ever imagine that goes on behind the scenes, and it's a lot of sacrifice, it's a lot of blood, a lot of sweat, hell of a lot of sweat and a lot of tears. And unless
did you feel really lonely then? Even it sounds like the passion and the drive for achieving that one dream, amongst others I'm sure you have. Did you feel really lonely? Can you describe what it's like? Because I read that loneliness was the disjoint between what you think you relationships are, what you want them to be, and what they really are.
Yeah. Goodness.
What does it feel like when if you were to sort of describe it in a few words, Lizzie, can you remember your most lonely point?
Oh, I had many of them, to be honest, but I think, goodness, that's it's a tough question to answer, to be honest. And I've kind of lost my train of thought.
Oh, don't worry. What it is, Lizzie. I mean, for me, my life hasn't been linear or straightforward or anything like that.
Never.
Because most of the time I spend on my own, my entire life really. I know what it is like to be chronically lonely. So what it is it's an acute case of loneliness. It's just when you've got a really good support network and everything around you. You're pretty okay with things, and now and again you might feel a little bit lonely. But chronic loneliness is when it lasts for a long time. Well, mine has lasted my entire life. I am actually an expert by experience. But it's this 32% of leaders. Now, I met you when you were doing your training, Lizzie, and I saw you as a leader.
Oh,
Because you do a lot of work of public speaking and trying to highlight things that a lot of people would be too afraid to say.
yeah, I think
Um,
we take our experience and we lead with that. I think that's, the common ground that you and I have both met on. Like, I mean, literally, I mean, the moment that we met, I was training. I had my rollers set up in the local shopping centre in Worthing. And I was fundraising for some upcoming competitions in Switzerland, right? And you just came along and and here we are. But yeah, no, it was wonderful. Like the interaction that we had with each other that day, and you told me all about your work, and it's we're both passionate people, and with your experience and my experiences, it's just been a wonderful relationship ever since, really, hasn't it?
yeah, it has, Lizzie. It really has. I mean, I feel so inspired. Before we started recording, that's the first time I've ever asked you, but how old are you? And you're 27, and I'm going to be
Yeah.
57. So we've got different life experiences, but I also read in the report, and I know that being connected to my community has absolutely dramatically changed my life. So, could you give people, particularly at work, Lizzie, that's what I'm coming from, that when you're at work, is there any tips that you can give that you've learned on this journey for other people?
um I suppose it's a difficult one, because I'm only in the last year have I kind of entered that uh working world. It's been over a year that I've been working for All-in-One Trust. My first experience of full-time employment, so I'm really getting that proper immersive experience of what it's like to be part of such a big team and to have a place of work. But I think what I love about the place that I work is that we are also passionate about what we're doing, because we are a charity. We have a vision, we have a mission, and it was founded by parents who wanted more for their kids with learning disabilities. And that is such it's a definite, such a distinctive why. I think a lot of businesses know what they're doing, they know how they do it, but they don't know why they do it. And that's one thing that we know for sure. So when everyone is in alignment with that, um, we can connect just with that. And I think to lead with that is pretty strong. But we are also just people. We're a random bunch of people. We have that one thing in common, but being able to draw out the other aspects of ourselves, which is what makes us unique and different from each other. I think creating those spaces, whether it's walking together on a lunch break, just, you know, other opportunities to share space, or we've recently started a support group around menopause, which is brilliant. Obviously, and we
Do
are
you
very
think then, Lizzie, telling the truth and the psychologically safe space is really important? Because I've come
yeah,
up through the different mindsets around leadership, workplaces, and you know, there was this thing where they said, leave your family life, leave your life at the door. You know, I came through that, so we all had to pretend that everything was fantastic and we're all high performers and all that kind of thing. Whereas nowadays, it's kind of the opposite. And I through my leadership journey and also all of the different academic courses that I've done most recently, especially in the last 5 years, the mindset around leadership is completely flipped back on its head. And that, for me, that's like absolute joy, you know, because I always was that person and I always found it very odd that you had to be like that. And I did try to fit into that, but what I had to do was remove myself from the country. I went and lived in different countries. I went and lived on a kibbutz, you know, with no money, and you know, I learned really good negotiation skills, you know, on the kibbutz because you had to barter for everything that you wanted. So yeah, I did
yeah,
bet you. So when you're connected to your people that you're working for, Lizzie, and it's a safe space for you to truly say what you believe, what you're feeling and thinking, do you think that's a takeaway for us today then, Lizzie?
for sure. Yeah, no, absolutely. I think when you allow your team, your colleagues, your employees to show up every day, their authentic self, and for them, when you invite them to be creative, and when you can inspire them, that's when you get the motivation for them to be the very best. And I am in awe of our leader at Alden One Trust, Sue Levette, who is, you know, our MD, our managing director, because she just has this way about her where, you know, of course, within workplaces there is a bit of a hierarchy in terms of senior like management and leadership and all that sort of thing, but I never once have felt like I'm below her. I always feel like I am either to the left or to the right of her, and I am by her side. And whether there's anything she needs or there's anything I can help her with, um, it's just,
Oh,
yeah, a
that's
wonderful
that's a
feeling.
sign of really good leadership, isn't it, Lizzie? We got to
Yeah,
wrap up, I'm afraid, Lizzie, but yeah, it's been so lovely to speak to you again today.
thank
I think it must have been 4 years ago or something like that, Lizzie, when we both
you.
first met, and we're
Yeah,
both completely changed. I mean, I'm a different person today than I was yesterday. So, yeah, we've
yeah,
been through a
we
lot,
evolved.
haven't we, Lizzie? And we're still
Exactly.
leading and we're still telling our truth, haven't we? So, hopefully, people out there will be inspired by both of us today. And
Mm.
happy International Leadership Week, Lizzie.
Happy International Leadership Week.
Thanks a lot, Lizzie. Thank you.